The Motsepe Foundation and the African Rainbow Minerals are hosting all the leaders of the royal houses, kings, queens and traditional leaders from across South Africa. Included are the leadership of the 34 biggest religious groups and churches in an event which is designed to disperse donations from the two bodies. Our reporter Abongile Dumako spoke to the Amazulu King, King Misuzulu kaZwelithini, and that's at the Sandton. That's at an event in Sandton, north of Johannesburg.
Well, certainly hive of activity that we see come out of the Sandton Convention Center here in Johannesburg. This is where the Motsepe Foundation, alongside the African Rainbow Minerals, are actually doing something generous. Most of us find it difficult to do, which is to give to the communities. They've invited traditional leaders, kings and queens from the royal houses across the country, including religious leaders. About 30 of them have been invited here to have this gathering, actually anchored by Dr. Motsepe, who is the chairman of the Motsepe Foundation. But we are privileged enough to be joined by His Majesty the King, Misuzulu kaZwelithini of the Amazulu King. He's part of those leaders that have been invited here. Mhlekazi, thank you so much for your time and good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
The importance of being part of this event for you and the Zulu nation at large.
Oh, thank you so much. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to the public. What a significant event. Historically, Dr. Motsepe and Patricia also, together with my father, the late King, they actually, before my time, were already working with and for the Motsepe Foundation for the sake of our rural communities, having seen the assistance that we can't, as a people, expect government to do everything for us. We, as a people, also need to assist, and that's exactly what the Patrice Motsepe Foundation stands for, and that's what it does. And we are proud that we have seen the results, what they've done in our communities. I will speak especially on behalf of KZN. I'm very excited. It's been a long and it's such a wonderful opportunity for me to be to prolong that relationship that the foundation, together with Dr. Motsepe and Patricia Motsepe, had with the late King. So I'm here to strengthen those ties so that we move on with the impact that we have in our rural communities.
And of course, we've seen that impact in the rural KwaZulu-Natal. It's been quite a daily occurrence, if you like. We've seen natural disasters taking place there. Some lives were lost. And of course, just recently, these recent rains that we've seen coming out of KwaZulu-Natal are not doing any justice for the community of KZN. Basically, your involvement then in strengthening the relations, what is it that you'd like to sort of see happen as far as assisting those communities?
Thank you for asking that question. It's very important. You know, this year was a very difficult year. Obviously understanding the difficulty and the natural disasters that we had in the early year, where we had terrible floods. There was a great loss of life. That's why, if most of you remember, my coronation was supposed to be around that time. And, you know, through my influence and people around me, I was able to say, look, we can't be celebrating a new king or a coronation when we're having so much problems, you know, with this natural disaster. Let's take care of this disaster first and help our people. And then once we go through that, and then we can have our coronation. And I really appreciate that the government and other NGOs, organizations agreed with me, and we were able to postpone the coronation. That's why it happened. It only happened on the 29th of October, because we had respect for what had happened through that natural disaster. And thank you so much for the Patrice Motsepe Foundation, what they did with their great donation of 30 million, which was distributed, you know, to those people who were impacted by that natural disaster. And through that, you know, I also have my wife, Untokozo Maisela, who has the Motsepe Foundation, who was able to also, through my assistance, distribute food parcels to those that were impacted by the disaster. And basically, that's where I would like to see all these NGOs, Motsepe Foundation and Motsepe Foundation, which was also involved about a week ago when I was doing the GBV walk in Durban. I'd like to see all these organizations come together, because we can't expect only one person or one organization to do everything. We all need to collaborate and impact our country the positive way.
And certainly with regards to there's been a bit of a cautious cry that people don't really like to see your kingships being involved in political squabbles and all of those things. We are fast approaching the ANC National Elective Conference. What's your message to the ANC as a party, and of course assuring your subjects that they need not worry about the fact that you might be sort of be hooked up in any political squabbles?
Yes, good question. Fortunately for us, I have a great relationship with our government, which we need to look at Africa as a whole. There is nothing you can do in Africa without your traditional leadership, which, if we want to impact as politicians or as government, we have to work with the traditional leadership. And as a traditional leader, I do encourage and I do influence the political and government leadership to work together hand in hand with us traditional leaders in order to have things happen the right way for the sake of our people.
Thank you so much,
God bless you. Thank you so much.
Well, that was the King, Misuzulu kaZwelithini of the AmaZulu Nation, of course, having been one of these leaders that we invited here in Sandton Convention Center. With that, it's back to you in studio in Auckland Park.